Hi folks, excuse the clickbaity title, I thought it'd be funny. This is just really a bit of a channel update because moving forward I'm going to be doing things a little bit different. The idea of this channel was never to be a review channel or anything like that. It was really just set up, I suppose, in a way for me to monitor my own progress and to highlight anything interesting I came across on my travels with frames and motors and stuff like that. And I've been kind of torn as to which way I want the channel to move. I love doing frame reviews, but I'm not hugely interested in doing motor reviews or tech reviews or anything like that. I feel they're really sort of unfulfilling. You know, I can show you the details of a motor, but I can't really explain or show you how good it feels in the air, and I can show you a flight controller and what I like about it, which in fairness is probably useful and something I still might consider, but I can't really explain to you why I prefer it over another 50,000 flight controllers without contradicting myself in 100 different ways, because a flight controller that is good for one build might not be good for another. And it becomes really sort of confusing to people. The reason for the clickbaity title is when I bought the CG, I absolutely loved the frame, and I say bought because I was going to buy it anyway, but I contacted Richard, as you'll know if you watch the videos, and he gave me a really nice discount off it because he knew I was going to do a review on it. And this frame has become my go-to frame. I absolutely love it. Mine has been bashed and crashed a million times. Nothing has ever broken, and I suspect that's because of two things. One, the Hyperlow frames are very, very good. This one has different carbon than the other Hyperlow frames, and I'll show you basically the carbon on the side of the carbon under a magnifying glass. And as you can see, if you look at the carbon, usually when you get carbon, pretty much every single frame I've ever seen, whether it be Armaturn or Impulse or whoever you talk about, the carbon is cheap Chinese carbon. It's basically unidirectional carbon stuck together in sheets with a pretty top finish to it. And the Hyperlow CG, if you notice, isn't. It's actually woven carbon, which is more expensive, and this was basically an accident. I've always liked the Hyperlow carbon, it's really, really strong, but the first batch of the CGs, there was an issue with the supplier, and they sent, or should I say, they cut them in the wrong carbon. And Richard liked the new carbon so much, he just kept it regardless of the fact it was more expensive. And what this woven carbon does is it makes the carbon, or should make the carbon more, should make the carbon last longer. But because it's woven, it means that your frame is less likely to delaminate, which is obviously one of the big issues in this hobby, and the reason why a lot of people like to chamfer the top and bottom edge of the carbon arms and glue the sides, because when you hit concrete or the ground, etc., repeatedly at an angle, it tends to delaminate and pull apart from itself. And the fact that this is woven carbon should mean that it doesn't do that so easily. But forgetting about all the design features I like, it just answers everything that I'm looking for in a freestyle frame. It's easy to build, it's easy to work on, it flies really well. Everything, all the criticisms that I had on my Hyperlow modular have been answered, and I don't really feel the need to constantly search for another freestyle frame that might be better. I just want to fly this one, and that kind of puts me in a position where, if I only want to fly a few quads, why would I bother reviewing more and more quads or spending more money? And that's really the gist of it. So moving forward, what I'm going to be doing is flying the Hyperlow CG, or should I say two Hyperlow CGs, and I'm going to be flying my 360 3-inch because it's perfectly made for what I wanted to. It's a fast little racer, but the fact it's got this GoPro ramp Basically means I can do freestyle with it, and this ramp also protects the antenna really well. And the other frame that will be flying when I sort it out is the Halo RC Nemesis, which again I absolutely love, but I had quite a lot of issues, not with the frame but with my setup when I first flew it. As you can see, I've got a motor covered in mud and very bent antennas. Flipping back or digressing, I don't want to be one of these channels that endlessly reviews stuff. I love reviewing good quality products. I love reviewing something that really interests me, something that I want to build. And because I kind of tend to, or the idea is I'll always build what I review, it's too time consuming to be inundated with stuff. Last week Banggood contacted me and asked me if I'd like to do reviews for them. And I've got mixed feelings on Banggood. I don't have any issue with them, I use them quite a bit, but I don't like all the cloning they do, etc. On new frames, and there's a lot of sort of things about them that I don't particularly like. So my response to Banggood was a little bit cheekier. Yeah, sure, I'd love to do reviews for you if you send me the Fat Shark HDO, and I can't remember what else I said, a couple of other really expensive things. I'll happily do reviews for them, knowing damn well that they wouldn't do, because I've seen too many channels that I like fall into the trap of endlessly being pumped cheap crap via Banggood and endlessly reviewing it, and getting conned into putting affiliate links and trying to make money. This flying quads is a hobby. You know, if you can make money out of it, we'd all do that. But let's not make money by bottom feeding, by ripping off everything in the hobby. I don't really have a strong view on clones. If you want to buy a clone, you go ahead, knock yourself out. I think the only feel I think strongly about is if you buy, nobody's going to argue if you buy a Martian. You know, the alien frame that it's based upon is 150 million years old. It's been copied and influenced pretty much every frame out there. No one gives a damn if you buy a Martian. It's a good cheap starter frame. But if you start buying clones of the Stingy frame or the Umagard frame or anything like that, I think at that point it gets a little bit uncomfortable for me, because they're frames that are brand new, you know, and if they're pilots that you really like, why would you take away or take the shine off their frames by buying a cheap knockoff? And that cheap knockoff might be equally as good, or it might be rubbish, who knows. You'll only find that out by flying them. So because I came to this fork in the road, I've decided I don't want to be, you know, Banggood's renter video YouTube channel. I don't want to do endless reviews on whatever quirky or weird frame they've brought out, and that kind of leaves me in a place of, you know, what do I want to do? And the answer to that question is I just want to fly. I just want to fly my quads. You know, I've built and flown hundreds of different quads. I know what I like, I know what I don't like, you know, and I'm not afraid to say that. You know, I love this Hyperlow CG. I hate with a passion this Hyperlow vert race, and I don't like the vert freestyle either. And that's not because I dislike the frames. The frames are really good quality, etc, etc, etc. I just feel, for me, where I am right now and the lack of time that I have, they're just, if you have issues with them, it's so complicated to take them apart and faff around and put them back together again. And while the whole vertical arm thing just have slight flight benefits, the benefits are so small that the downsides and the faff outweigh them for me. So the three frames that I'm going to be flying in all my videos moving forward are the three frames that, of all the frames that I've looked at and reviewed or done off camera, are the frames that I keep coming back to. And as I said, that's the CG, the 360 and the Nemesis. And that basically for me covers my love of the hobby. We've got a 5-inch freestyle frame that's heavy, we've got a light 5-inch race frame, and we've got a little 3-inch frame. The only thing that's missing from this is a 4-inch quad, and I may at some point either build this guy as a 4-inch with the other arms that I was sent, or dig out my Space Cowboy frame, which is a 4-inch frame that I really love. But other than that, it's just really going to be a case of trying to improve my flying. There's one other frame on the horizon, which is a frame designed by, I suppose, a YouTube friend of mine, which I'm going to help him test, and that may or may not appear on the channel. I don't know what he wants from me, but other than that, I can't really see any reviews on the horizon. That's not to say the channel will be closing down. You know, I've said this before, maybe I'll come across something that I really like or really interests me, and I'll do a video on that, or maybe I'll do a video on something that I've found out. So it's not like I'm going to close the channel down. I'm really just going to make it more about celebrating and having fun flying, as opposed to being doing dry videos on, you know, different frames, etc. So I hope you'll stick with me moving forward in this hobby. Obviously, if you like the frame reviews, then I'm kind of sorry that they're not going to be as frequent. Certainly over the summer months. It might change in winter when I can't fly as much. But yeah, and moving forward at some point I'll do some giveaways. I've got sort of frames lying around, good frames actually. The CB3 is a good frame. I might give away some of the hyperlow frames that I'm not using. I've got various other bits and bobs of stuff lying around, so keep a lookout for that. But otherwise, thanks very much for the comments and support moving forward. Cheers to those guys who always support my channel. When you get comments and thumbs up and likes, you know, it really helps, especially when you've been messing around with 100 different things, fault finding, sorting out issues. When you run multiple quads, it can sometimes feel like a job, and I suppose that's one of the reasons why I'm slimming it down. I don't want hours and hours of faff. I just want to run the setups that I like. So thanks to Hyperlow. This CG is just immense. Thanks to 360 Hobbies. He was a guy who just contacted me out of the blue, and wanted me to review his little frame, and he also sent the cap I'm wearing, and I'm wearing it not because he sent me free stuff, but because I like his frame, and he went to the effort of putting my name on the back of it, and that made my day. So yeah, so that's it guys. Thanks for watching. Cheers. Bye bye.